91. Quite possibly the most random number you would think of when picking a number from 1 to 100. It is not your classic lucky 7 or 11, it is just 91. Rarely do you find someone with 91 as their jersey number, and it's even more rare to find out that they willingly chose that as their number. Hi Southfield, my name is Emily Cloran, and I'm a 3-year senior from Rocky Hill, Connecticut, and my lucky jersey number is 91. For me, I feel a sense of pride when the number is displayed upon my back, written underneath my last name on the blue travel softball jersey I've worn since I was merely 11 years old. 91 has become more or less part of my identity, and without hesitation when asked what my lucky number is, I will say 91. Though there are countless accomplishments attached to the number, including qualifying for All-American teams and hitting home runs, buried deep within the number is the real reason why I wear it. When the numerals are rearranged, 91 becomes 19, a much more common number to pick for a jersey. This happens to be the number my younger sister Allie wears on hers. Now the reasoning behind our choices in jersey numbers sets the stage for the importance of these two numbers to me. Allie and I, though 3 years apart, were both born on the 19th of different months in different years, something that has always been unique to us and our family. When my sister and I moved travel firms to our current one, she immediately picked 19. I was hesitant at first, as I did initially want 19, but decided to be difficult and picked 91. As the years are passing and my time wearing 91 is coming to a close, I began to realize that 19 and 91 represent Allie and I, both as individuals, but also as a whole. We are both so similar, yet so different, just like 19 and 91. Perhaps the area where we are most similar is our appearance. Ever since we were little, strangers have been insistent that her and I are twins. There was one day where we were grocery shopping with our mom, I as maybe around 8, my sister around 5, and the cashier did a double take, staring, eyes shifting back and forth between Allie and I, before asking if we were twins. It was quite a surprise that the height difference didn't throw her for a loop, given I am 3 years older than Allie and was significantly taller at the time, though she has since passed me in height. The cashier did not believe my mom and she broke the news to her with a slight laugh. No, they are actually 3 years apart. Ever since then, Allie and I have debated, fought even, about whether or not we look alike. I, of course, am on the side of the random grocery store cashier. Allie, however, believes we look nothing alike, no matter how many people try to tell her otherwise. In a way, our jersey numbers directly embody this. When I made the decision to come to Southfield, I didn't know what I would do without the 19 to my 91. Throughout lockdown the year prior, we'd grown incredibly close, while also constantly getting on each other's nerves, as siblings often did. Though I know that all that ran through Allie's head in the days approaching move-in was that she could not wait to take over my room, I was honestly nervous. I cannot remember a time where I'd spent more than just a few days away from Allie, and here I was about to move away 3 years sooner than initially planned. However, honestly, I feel like being further apart made us grow closer together. Now I look forward to the few hours I get to see her when I'm home on the weekends for practice, whether it be our late night talks in the kitchen, bouncing a tennis ball back and forth, laughing, hoping we don't wake up the rest of the house, or our random ice cream runs. I value each and every minute we get to spend together. What this has also made me realize, though, is that people come and go through different eras of our lives, but the strongest relationships will last multiple eras. Right now, we are all in what I will call our Southfield era, and for some of us, this era is slowly nearing its end. Seniors, we graduate in exactly 230 days from today. Right now, we are all going through the process of applications that will determine where we will spend our next 4 years of our lives after Southfield. It's a scary time for all of us, for sure. This time next year, we will all be in different places of the world instead of together in our Southfield community. So my advice to everyone, but especially to my fellow seniors, is to value the important relationships in your lives currently. The strongest of these relationships will travel on to our eras after Southfield. With that being said, I know there are countless relationships that will travel on to my eras after Southfield. Campbell Hudgens, here's a shout out I promised you. Thank you for the random FaceTime calls when I'm stressed out and need a good rant, and for being the best workout partner I could ask for, plus so much more. Emily, I'm gonna be honest, I struggle with what to write here. Words truly cannot express how grateful I am for you. And I think that's because I know our relationship will last long past our Southfield era. Mr. Booth, thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for cheering me up when I'm in a hitting slump and reminding me to just take a breather and relax. I couldn't imagine what the team would be like without you. I like to believe that your energy and your love for the game makes our team who we are. Thank you for making each and every one of us love the game so much more. To my parents, thank you for the relationships that I know no matter what will stay with me. Thank you for being the relationships that I know will stick with me no matter what through all of my life. I know it was tough letting me go at first, but I'm forever grateful that you let me find my second home at Southfield. And to Allie, I'm sure I've already embarrassed you enough at this point, so I won't say much more, but thank you for being the 19 to my 91. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kenneth
Becky Morris, and I'm technically a four-year senior from Stafford, Connecticut. I thought about taking this time to explain what I mean by that, but I changed my mind. You can ask me later if you want to know. Instead, I realized there's only one thing that really makes sense for me to do up here. I couldn't tell you how long I've been singing, but it's a huge part of what makes me who I am. I've been writing my own music for about 5 years now, meaning I've finished somewhere around 50 songs, but I only consider a handful of them good enough to let anyone hear. I became obsessed with metaphors one year in a random English class while analyzing poetry. I've drowned myself in lyrics by Taylor Swift, Lizzie McAlpine, and Phoebe Bridgers, hoping their talent would inspire me to write something half as impressive and meaningful. I had a song all lined up to sing for this speech, but I got an idea on Friday, cranked out a new one, and taking my mom's advice, I decided that's the one I'd rather show you. Before I get to that, I wanted to say a few quick thank yous. To Mr. Booth, Mrs. Lord, Mrs. Green, Mr. Dugan, and Mr. French. Thank you for making my time at Suffield enjoyable and for always believing in me. To Allison Rossi, thank you for being an amazing mentor, role model, coach, and second mom. To my best friends, Paige, Eli, Lauren, Tyler, Fiona, Annalise, Madison, Anna, and Leah. No words will ever be enough to describe what you mean to me. Thank you for building me back up when I was at my lowest and making my life worth living. And to the ones I'm leaving behind, Sage, Georgia, Lacey, Sophie, and Grace. I know it's not the same as barging into our room and collapsing on our carpet, but I'll always just be one call away. To my mom, thank you for always knowing the right answer and for having my back no matter what. And to my dad, thank you for pushing me to be the best I can be every single day and for giving the greatest hugs in the world. You all have left your mark on me and shaped me into who I am today, and you mean more to me than you'll ever know. I have so much more to say, but I'm probably already pushing my time limit, so without further ado, I'm going to sing a song that I wrote, and this is called Self-Fulfilling Prophecy.
Some random Tuesday, you'll catch adjustment to live away from home, but also to be limited to mainly spending time in your dorm due to COVID. The cohort periods my sophomore year at first felt suffocating, but in the end were a blessing in disguise. My sophomore year, I lived in Tompkins, a mostly freshman dorm at the time. During the winter term is when I connected with my dorm the most, even though there were only 4 of us living there at the time. We have since named this group of people the Tompkins Winter Crew. This group consisted of Grace Young, Giselle Siriaco, Lauren Burton, and I, along with Miss Lloyd, Miss McCarroll, and Miss Landry. Now, most of this group has since left Suffield, but the Winter Crew still lives on in spirit. Even though with only 4 people in the dorm, most people would think it would be boring, but it was quite the opposite. In the beginning of the term, weird things would happen, such as my bed being made when I got back from classes, or things being moved around, and of course my mind first went to a ghost. I've since found out that that assumed ghost was just Grace Young playing tricks on me. We would also have various nights where we watched TV and had the late night snacks and just talked. I remember one night specifically when Giselle showed us a scary video of Insidious 3 with the song Tiptoe Through the Tulips in it. And if you haven't heard this song, trust me, it is very creepy. After we saw how scared Grace was of this, our first instinct was to scare her. I came up with a plan to hide my speaker in her room and play the song as loudly as possible. So Giselle and I hid outside her door and played the song. And when I tell you I've never heard someone scream bloody murder like that before, needless to say, Grace didn't talk to me for about a week after that. With the winter term coming to an end, the small group of the Winter Crew would be expanding to the other students coming back to campus. The spring cohort period was one of the best parts of the spring term. There was a group of 5 or 6 of us that were inseparable, and we would do everything together. We would bring almost every meal back to the dorm and eat in the common room together, or just hang out every chance we could. We even made a makeshift hair salon in the bathroom and gave out haircuts. Looking back on it, it was a little risky letting Sophie want to haircut my hair, but it was okay in the end. By the end of the year, this dorm became its own little family, and it devastated me that it would be separating the following year. It was a difficult adjustment at first, but once I found a way to be in Barnes with Sophie, Grace, and Lacey almost every night, it started to be okay. Now on to this year. We are all back in the same dorm, and that family that was once in Tompkins is now in Rockwell with a few more members. Sorry, Kennedy, for dragging you back to the quad, and thank you for constantly putting up with my complaining about missing summer at home. My experience in Tompkins will be something I'll never forget, but the nights in Rockwell with Lacey practically living in my room, I never want to give up. Before I end the speech, I want to say thank you to Mr. Booth and Ms. Cook for always helping me with any problems I have and reminding me not to be too hard on myself. To Mrs. C for letting me be in the ceramic studio for hours per day and helping me through tough times. To Mr. French for giving me advice and not failing me in physics. And thank you to my parents for pushing me to be the best I can be and never giving up on me at my lowest points. To my forever best friends, Sophie, Lucy, Grace, and Kennedy, I can't believe I'm leaving you next year, but I'm always a quick FaceTime away and will always be there for you. Thank you.
My name is Connor Booth, and I'm a 4-year senior from Wallingford, Connecticut. Through different points in my life, I've had many different views of me. If you ask someone what my personality was like, you would get 2 distinct different answers. Some people would say it was super easy to get me excited, but others would say the opposite, saying nothing seemed fun to me. It almost seemed like I was 2 different people in the eyes of others. The answer didn't show itself until I was almost done with my 2nd year of high school. During my sophomore year, I found out I had ADHD. I was one of those kids who you would always think was on a sugar rush. I was always smiling, and I could never sit down. Thinking back, I don't know how I didn't notice it sooner. But when I was diagnosed with ADHD, with this new diagnosis came medication to help me concentrate and sit still. The change between my personalities was definitely visible and only continued to become more apparent as my doses grew. At first, I was happy with this. I was finally able to sit down and study. The years of complaints from my teachers for not listening in class, or the impulsive thoughts that would somehow make their way to my lips after just thinking of them, were over. But this happy ending came with some negative side effects. I became more reserved and quiet, like my emotions were kept prisoner, only seeing the outside world when my happy ending began to wear off. While my medication fixed my grades with my new and improved focus, it seemed to have swapped it with my social happiness. I became a shut-in, barely leaving my room, and only studying and playing video games in my spare time. Most nights I wouldn't even eat with my friends, I would just work delivery. During my junior year, my friends would tell me that I was a completely different person whenever they would see me, as little as I was. But when I think back, I can only remember being happy about this version of me, not really caring what they thought. But this realization didn't only come from my parents, or my friends, but also my parents. I remember after a long trip back from my college visit, my mom asked me whether I liked it or not. I responded to her blankly, telling her I really did like it, but I could tell she didn't believe me. When we got home, my parents and I talked about the college. My mom must have mentioned my visual distinctions to my dad. They told me I should be grateful and excited that I'd had the opportunities to see all these different colleges. But when I went upstairs after this conversation was over, I realized they were right. But as I was going upstairs, I ended up sitting at the top of them, planning to eavesdrop on my parents. But one of the things I did hear was, why can't he be honest with us? This hurt, realizing that my happy ending resulted in others distrusting me. But this wasn't an excuse, and I wasn't a victim. My parents, friends, and peers were the victims by me straining my relationships with them for my own selfish needs. Since that epiphany, I knew something needed to change. I began to attempt to merge these two people back into one and truly be me. While I haven't reached a conclusion, I will say there's definitely been progress. This summer, I went out of my way to stay in contact with people, even meeting some new ones, and I finally felt social again. My mom told me she was happy to see me smiling, which is something she always would comment on. But I've learned through my struggles in trying to find myself back at that state of happiness, and I'm not going to settle. Even if there seems to be a long way to go to achieve what I want, I won't give up until I have it. Not with academics, not with my sports, and especially not with those I love and care about. I would like to thank my little brother, Kellen, for his constant checkups on me. Don't tell him I said this, but he may think I get annoyed when he gets on my case, but I secretly appreciate it and love him for it. My little sister, Lexi, who always likes to embarrass me in public, I can always count on her to be in my corner, even though she's only 5 years younger than me. And I would like to end my chapel speech thanking my parents for their continuous support and never wavering faith in me. They are the reason I am who I am today, and I can't be more thankful. Thank you, Suffolk, for listening to me.
Hello, Suffield. This morning, I was somehow able to salvage my freshman leadership autobiography. In this biography, I had included some of my most memorable days of my life. 4 years later, I would have never thought that this very document would influence my senior chapel speech. Looking back, a lot has changed in the past 4 years. A pandemic, a new president, the dining hall food, and yes, I missed Mr. K at Coach Around one day. And last but not least, the swim team. Looking back to my freshman biography, I noticed that I included a lot about swimming. Shocker, right? For those of you who don't know, last year a legendary swim coach retired by the name of Mr. Lowe. While saddened by his retirement, I was also grateful to be able to be coached by him. While this swim season will be very different without his intimidating stares when you mess up, we know that he'll somehow find a way to still intimidate us and make us faster. In my freshman autobiography, I for some reason mentioned the Florida swimming trip. During that trip, I experienced one of my lowest parts of my time at Suffolk Academy. In a nice hot day in Naples, Florida, and Connor Booth, Ryan Peel, and I had been starving after a hard morning practice. Looking for food options, we thought we could make a short 5-mile walk to the nearest grocery store. After walking for about a mile on the 97-degree Florida sidewalks, we soon realized we were in trouble. Almost feeling like we were about to pass out, a car randomly pulled up next to us and rolled its windows down. Then we heard a gentle, "Need a ride?" It had been Mr. Lowe, and he had somehow recognized us and saved the day. Again, Mr. Lowe, thank you. Other than a scary part of my life, in my freshman autobiography, I included the best day of my life. And I'll be reading exactly what I said 4 years ago, in quotes. I was 3 and at my house in Lander, Wyoming, waiting for my brother to be born. I don't remember if it was early morning or late at night, but I remember going to sleep just thinking about this new person that would be in my life forever. He has changed my life so much. That day, January 19th, 2008, was probably the best day of my life. Fisher, thank you for being my best friend and putting me in my place sometimes. And yes, I'm still taller than you. Other than those 2 very memorable days, I'm happy to say that I've experienced many more memorable days at Suffolk Academy, and that I will hold on to forever. So thank you to all my teachers for pushing me beyond my limits academically and believing in me. Thank you, Mr. Lynch, for making the hardest practices this school has ever seen, and for not putting me in a 200 and 500 freestyle the past 2 years. Thank you, Ms. Rawlings, Mr. Bullock, and Ms. Arnold for adding some fun to the swim team. Thank you again, Mr. Lowe, for saving my life and for being my advisor for the past 3 years and showing me what I am capable of in and out of the pool. Thank you to my friends who I know I can always count on. And last but not least, thank you to my family for supporting me through thick and thin, but more specifically, thank you to my mom and dad for giving me the opportunity to attend Suffolk Academy, and I wouldn't want any other parents. Hello, Suffield. My name is Chase Stevens, and I'm a 4-year day student from Suffield, Connecticut. And from the wise words of Taylor Swift, life isn't about how to survive the storm, but how to dance in the rain. Thank you.
Hello, Suffield. My name is Ellie Frisbee, and I'm a 3-year senior from Middlebury, Connecticut. Picture this. You see me at 4 years old, standing in Yale New Haven Hospital. I was just gifted my favorite teddy bear. Most of you all probably have pictures with your siblings from the early parts of your lives in a more traditional setting, like your backyard. For me, it was much different. At the moment of this picture, the only thing that I understood was that I loved this little pink bear. What I didn't understand was why my oldest brother Hayden was bringing home all of Nolan's homework assignments, or why my big brother was losing all of his hair, or why someone by the name of Make-A-Wish was sending my family and I to Legoland, and why my brother Nolan got to choose this location. On the other side of this lens, you would see my parents. My mother trying to keep a happy face, but in reality, the weight of the situation was slowly weighing down on her smile. I had a great childhood filled with many family parties and road trips to Maine. My brother Nolan is one of my best friends, but sometimes I forget that I could have gone through life without him. When Nolan was 5 years old, he was diagnosed with leukemia, a very rapid and aggressive type of cancer. This embarked my family on a journey that would not conclude for many years. When all this was going on, I was clueless. During the pandemic, the use of a mask was not foreign to me since I had always seen them around my house but didn't exactly know what they were used for, just like the hand sanitizer dispensers that were installed on the walls of my childhood home near all the exits and entrances. These are just 2 things that I thought were just normal. Growing up, Nolan and I did not get along very well. Nolan had gone to boarding school when I was about 10 years old, but was still very much present since we were at every single one of his football games and crew races. Nolan and my other brother Hayden used to make up songs about me, and even one night snuck into my room while I was sleeping and taped a zoomed up photo of my face all over my walls for me to wake up to. As Nolan and I grew older, we quickly grew close. By the time I was 14, when he was home, we would go everywhere together. Some of my best memories are memories that I have with him. Nolan had taught me some of the most important lessons in my life. He even taught me how to drive. Nolan taught me not only how to stand up for myself, but he also taught me that it's okay to depend on someone else. If Nolan hadn't had beaten cancer, I would not be the person standing in front of you today. Now, I would like to give you a new picture, much different than the one that I gave you in the beginning. Picture this. You see me in my brother's apartment in New York City, but this time, Nolan is 22 and recently graduated from Cornell and is now working in finance. This is a picture that I adore. Not one that I'm not clueless, but one where I'm proud. On the other side of the lens, you would again see my parents, but in this photo, they are relieved and not just putting on a happy face, but experiencing happiness. As I leave you all today, I would like to encourage you all not to dwell on the what-ifs, but instead be grateful for the people you have around you, because you never know what the alternate endings could have been. Thank you.
Rubenstein, and I'm a four-year boarder from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Today, I'm going to tell you all about the many different things that I love. Summer camp, breakfast sandwiches, early 2000s Chicago rap, baby animals, and more. At least, that's what I and probably a lot of people have been envisioning me talking about my travel speech, a final capstone on my Suffield experience. As the day of my speech approached, however, I suddenly came to terms with something that I've been avoiding for a really long time. I knew exactly what I should be talking about, but it scared me. It's a story that I haven't been comfortable telling, something I can't even really think about. There's parts of it that make me embarrassed, ashamed, and cringe, but after all, my 4 years here have given me the opportunity to not only come to terms with my experience, but to rise above it. The story itself doesn't define me, but rather the outcome. So here's my thank you to Suffield, for being the place I needed all along. This is the story I've been terrified to acknowledge, but I now know I can. And if you do want to hear why I love bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches, you can talk to me after. But I'm deciding not to neglect my experience anymore and recognize how much I've grown. So, hi Suffield. My name is Mia Rubenstein, and I'm a four-year boarder from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Wait, Rubenstein, are you Jewish? This was my very first interaction in high school. My teacher asking me in front of the whole class if I was Jewish. Nauset Regional High School in Eastham, Massachusetts was where I fully pictured myself going to school for 4 years, alongside my friends, playing on the tennis team, and going to the beach after classes. Never did I think that this one question about my religion after seeing the name Rubenstein on a piece of paper would change my entire life. That one question was seemingly just a single drop in an ocean, but caused a massive ripple effect of hatred and anti-Semitism I faced throughout the rest of the year. Okay, so obviously I disregarded this confusing comment. I didn't want to believe that it just happened. The first day of school is already awkward enough. So I politely replied something like, yes, I am. My teacher was astonished. It was like he'd never seen a Jewish person before in his life. I saw his jaw physically drop. At the same time, I felt my stomach churn. It was literally the first 10 minutes of high school, and I was already being scrutinized under a massive spotlight. I felt isolated on a class roster of Smiths and McCarthys. I guess it was clear that one name wasn't like the other, but why did that matter? Finally, the bell rang. I never packed my bag faster in my entire life. As I was making my way out the door, my teacher asked if he could talk to me quickly. Oh, he's apologizing for making me uncomfortable and creating an extremely hostile vibe in his classroom. Cool. He looks down at me. I just want you to know that I have a tattoo of a swastika on my back. He says this with a smile. What am I supposed to say to that? What kind of reaction was he looking from 15-year-old me, who was just trying to survive high school, nevertheless anti-Semitism? The rest of that day was honestly a blur. I ate lunch with my friends and I didn't tell them what happened. I pretended like everything was normal. I didn't want to accept what was happening. I told myself it wasn't real, that it was all in my head. You best believe I didn't tell my parents. I was mortified, and I hadn't even experienced the worst of it yet. My teacher continued to make derogatory remarks throughout all of September and was very accepting of other students adding on to his. On October 27th of 2018, there was a devastating shooting in Pittsburgh at the Tree of Life Synagogue. 11 innocent Jewish people were killed. This was an opportunity for my teacher to bring up Judaism in the classroom and tell me about his opinions. He pulls up an article on his computer and calls my name. Mia, can you please read this aloud to the class? Please tell me this is popcorn style. There is no way he's just asking me to read about this horrific event. Well, he was. I read it. One of the girls sitting next to me shared that her dad had told her this morning that the event was a step in the right direction. My teacher outwardly agreed. I sat there. At that point, actually, I wasn't there. I disassociated my whole mind and body from that terrible classroom. In my head, I was somewhere else. I envisioned a school that wanted me to be there, a school I was excited to go to each day. But back in the real world, I became physically ill. The things my teacher told me became a daily occurrence, and the hatred poured outside the classroom. I did everything I could to avoid this feeling of utter isolation at school by isolating myself first. I'd go to the bathroom for hours. I'd lie down with the nurse because I felt sick of Nauset, sick of pretending I wasn't bothered. Eventually, my parents noticed something was going on. I wasn't eating. I hated my friends. I didn't do any homework. I was irritable and distraught. I wasn't myself. My drive and passion and flair and love for learning were completely stolen. I dreaded school, but more so, I was terrified to go. The day I told my parents what was going on, a senior boy who I'd never met airdropped me a photo of Anne Frank with the caption reading, "Welcome to Nauschwitz." I was humiliated. This had gone beyond people I knew and into people I hadn't even met before. Why were they so obsessed? Why was I suddenly targeted for my religion, which I had literally never talked about unless I was asked? I didn't even go to synagogue. I dropped out of Hebrew school when I was like 5. This was all just based on my last name and the prejudice and preconceptions about Jewish people that Nauset was too afraid to acknowledge were wrong. My parents, of course, talked to the administration. My mom and dad wanted the technology department to track down the IP address of the kid. They wanted my teacher to be fired. They wanted me to feel safe at school. Nauset brushed it under the rug. They said there was simply nothing they could do. They didn't talk to my teacher or say anything to the board. It became clear I needed to look elsewhere. I didn't have the motivation to live or to try. Over Passover in Baltimore at my grandparents' house, I had officially hit a wall. I thought I was at my breaking point before, but this was it. I simply couldn't handle it anymore. After coming back to school the following week, I received snapshots of kids with swastikas on their faces and was bit in the classroom of the anti-Semitic teacher and called a dirty Jew. He then yelled, "Get out." I assumed he was talking to the kid that bit me, but no, it was to me. More meetings with the administration and they still didn't see any kind of issue. I couldn't stay here. They didn't fight for me to stay. They didn't want me here. I didn't want to be here either. I wanted my personality back, my eagerness, my itching to be involved and outgoing. I had to seek somewhere that would help me rediscover these values again. The real me wasn't lost. It was just hidden under the guilt and shame from my terrible year. I was forced to unenroll. After a long journey of searching for a place, I finally found Suffield. I was timid to present myself to admissions because of my D's in every single class and lack of confidence. But Mr. Ken and Mr. Atkins saw something in me. They were able to see my potential, my true self that was shielded by the trauma I was just unable to cope with. Suffield, thank you for believing in me when I was at my lowest and believing at me now as I continue to strive to be better. Thank you for the unconditional love and support. Thank you for welcoming me with open arms into an environment I'd only dreamed of. Thank you to my advisor, Ms. Graham, for being my role model and best friend. Since I came here in 2019, really embarrassed that I had to repeat my freshman year, but excited to jump into everything Suffield had to offer. You sat with me and talked to my lawyers on Zoom and let my mom explain to you what was going on because I was too embarrassed to. Thank you for seeing me for me and continuing to support my endeavors and providing more love and homemade iced coffee than I could ever ask for. Mrs. Sassoni, thank you for not only helping me throughout the confusing college process, but also helping me see that my year at Nauset isn't just a black smudge on my record, but rather proof of my strength and my growth. Thank you to all the teachers, staff members, and students here. Suffield is the amazing place that it is because of each and every one of you. The power we have in our voices curates this incredible place into what it is. Mr. Kim, thank you for putting your faith in me and giving me this incredible platform to discover the person I've always wanted to. To my mom and dad, thank you for this unmatched opportunity, for never leaving my side and trusting that I make the most out of what you offered me. When I reflect on my experience at Nauset and my transition into Suffield, I'm not embarrassed anymore. I'm proud. I'm proud of the person I've become, and I'm proud of what I know I can be. To quote Blade Runner, "The light that shines twice as bright, only birds are half as long." It wasn't easy for me to push past this dark time and find my way out of the tunnel alone, but Suffield has given me the discipline and the foundations to unearth my true persona. Suffield is a place where if your light starts to dim, there's someone close by to help you regain your flame. Suffield, thank you for helping me to shine bright. Thank you.
You all did a